Hi, Chris Mims here. This video is really if you want to know more about me, but it's mainly here so that if people are looking for information about a rare disease called amyloidosis, they can find it. But it gives you more information about me if you want to as well, because you've probably never heard of the disease amyloidosis. And I apologize for the lighting. I just wanted to come outside today to talk and visit. Back in this December 2019, I will be celebrating my 10th birthday on December 19th of 10 years from a stem cell transplant for amyloidosis. Like I said, many of you have never heard of that disease, but the people who are out there searching for information know what it's like and know it's a horrible disease. And there's not a lot of hope sometimes, because when I was diagnosed in 2009, I didn't know anybody that had amyloidosis. I'd never heard of it before, and there wasn't a lot of information to find out there that was very positive. Basically, everything you read said, if you got it, you're going to die, and you better get up to Mayo in Minnesota or get to Boston in Boston. But fortunately, I came into God was providential and put me in the right place. So in 2007, my dad passed away at my birthday. That's a lot of fun. From Waldenstrom, which is a cousin to amyloidosis. And then in the spring, my mom moved in with us for a while because she had breast cancer and didn't live in Houston, so she came to live with us while she was getting her treatments, and sometimes would go home and come back. And it's just hard when you have somebody in your house with you, and that was just hard on her, and it just was a tough time. So at the end of 2008, I was, not feeling very well. And in November of 2008, I went to my doctor and said, hey, my dad died, my mom's had this going on. I don't feel very good. I think I'm depressed. Could you give me some help? And the doctor said, yeah, I'd be depressed too if I had that problem. And so she prescribed me some antidepressants, but she also said, let's just run some tests too to make sure there's nothing else going on. And I'm appreciative of that, because when she came back with the tests, there were three things going on, and this may be each person with amyloid has different things. But the first thing she says, when did you have a heart attack? And I go, I've never had a heart attack. And she says, well, your EKG says differently. And then she said that my kidneys were throwing off a whole lot more protein in my urine, like 5,000 units, than they should be. And I needed to have, there was some problem there. You should only be throwing off about 100 a day. And I was having some stomach problems with the depression and stuff, obviously. So we went first to check with the doc about the heart condition, and the doctor ran me through a stress test, and had absolutely no problems on the stress test. It did throw off a weird EKG, so he said, well, let's do the angiogram, or whatever it is when they go up your leg and end the deal. Not a fun procedure. And he came back and said, man, everything's clear. I mean, you're wide open. We can run a back truck through your veins. And so he says, you just have to know that you throw off a weird EKG. So that's strike one. He missed the diagnosis. And then we started dealing with the kidney doctor. And the kidney doctor said, well, there's only three things that can cause this: HIV, hepatitis, or lupus. Well, I knew I had not had a lifestyle or a situation with blood transfusions or anything like that where I could have HIV or hepatitis. I didn't know about lupus. Didn't know if I could have that or not. So he ran the tests and came back and said they're all negative. So let's just put you on some prednisone and see what happens. As I was walking out, God spoke to me and said, do not do that. Find another doctor. And if I'd done what he'd said, I would not be making this video 10 years later. So long story short, we went through a process of getting a referral to a doctor for kidneys, and we wound up with a doctor here in Houston named Jennifer Finch. And she had seen amyloid before, and she saw my records. And before she even came in to see us, we found this out later, she had talked to hematologist Dr. Kelty Baker, who was amyloid's her passion. And she told Dr. Baker, he said, I think I have an amyloid patient. Do you want me to just send him straight to you? And she said, no, go ahead and do the kidney biopsy, which you have to do. And they have to use Congo red to detect amyloid. And it all came back. And in the meantime, the doctor, she told me to get an appointment with Dr. Baker. So it's when we left there, we scheduled an appointment. And this was late March, early April. And the first appointment Dr. Baker had was like the end of May, so we had it scheduled for the end of May. First week of April, we get a phone call from Dr. Baker's office before we've even talked to the kidney doctor about the results. And they said, we need to set an appointment for you to see Dr. Baker. And I said, well, I've got one scheduled. She says, no, we need to see you tomorrow. And I'm going, okay, can you come in here at 4 o'clock? And that's when life changed completely. So she told me that I had amyloidosis. She told me that I needed to get my life in order, my affairs in order. And then she proceeded to talk for another hour or so and telling about what procedures we would go through and what we could do. But I didn't hear any of that. My wife was with me, fortunately, and she heard all of that. And so she came out with the prognosis that this is really, really bad. I could die, but they believe they can put me in remission and keep me in remission until a cure comes along. And anyway, that started a long process. That was early April. By June, I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't go 2 feet by myself. Deep depression, suicidal, just sicker than I've ever been in my life. And the idea was that, they treated it, try to get me strong enough to handle a stem cell transplant. And in August, the treatment started working and I started feeling better. And by September, other than the fact that I was weak and there's a lot of things that went on, I was feeling a whole lot better and I was on my way to feeling really, really good. And so in November of 2009, I went in and started the harvesting of my stem cells, and on December 15th, I think it was, we checked into Methodist Hospital, where they started the process of giving you the melphalan to get you ready for the stem cell transplant. If you ever have that opportunity, I highly don't recommend it. And then on the December 19th, they gave me the stem cell transplant. And it's a long procedure. I'm glad to talk to you about it someday. You're welcome to contact me if you have amyloid and want to know more about it. But they take you to the point of death, and it's just one of the most horrible things in your life. And you'll wish you're dead. And eventually it turned around, and I stayed in the hospital from December 15th to January 5th. Merry Christmas to me. And went home, and the next 2, 3, 4 months were really rough. You're not healed at that point. You're still at the weakest you're ever going to be. So don't try to run any marathons or anything like that. And just do what the doctors say. And eventually, I got to feel a whole lot better. But you have to really be careful in that first year, because when you have a stem cell transplant, they literally kill your entire immune system. And so you're really susceptible to anything that's out there. Literally a year later, 18 months, depending on the doctor, they start giving you your childhood vaccinations again. So it was a rough time for me at that point in time, but I did survive it. And I want you to know that you can survive it too. And but your attitude has got to be right. You've got to have a good attitude, good doctors. I highly recommend Kelty Baker here in Houston, Texas. She's at Methodist Hospital. She is now the chief of staff at Methodist Hospital, so she's highly regarded. And amyloid has been a passion of hers, so I highly recommend her. If you're in the Southwest, definitely Mayo or Boston are great opportunities for you as well. But make sure you get with a doctor that knows what the heck they're doing, or they can kill you really easily. So I hope this helps you guys out there with amyloid. This is Chris Mims. And like I said, if you need to reach out, I'm here. Send me a message and I can call you. I can talk to you, whatever you need. But I'm here for you to let you know you will survive this, or can survive this, and to encourage you. And my wife's happy to talk to any caregivers that might need the encouragement as well.